Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for watching this Facebook Live. I'm sorry, we have technical problem and we couldn't go in, but this is a Virtual Firefest program, and thank you for watching. So now we have Hitomi Shibata here behind of me.
Hello.
And Valerie Zimany, she is in South Carolina, Clemson University.
Hello.
Yep, thank you so much. So yeah, we have many other Firefest program on our website. So if you are interested in, please check our website at www.starworksnc.org. And let's see, let me introduce Valerie quickly. Valerie Zimany is a ceramic artist and associate professor at Clemson University in South Carolina. She holds a Master of Fine Arts in Craft and Ceramics from Kanazawa College of Art in Kanazawa, Japan. And I don't talk everything. You have so many experience, so you can talk a little bit in this conversation. And let me introduce Hitomi. Hitomi Shibata is a ceramic artist in Seagrove, North Carolina, and the owner of Studio Toya. She holds a Master of Education in Ceramics from Okayama University in Okayama, Japan. So yeah, she has so many experience too. So I don't talk too much. So hope you enjoy this demonstration and talk. And please leave comment and questions. And at the end of the demonstration, we can ask questions to them. Okay, thank you so much, Valerie, Hitomi.
Thank you, Takuro.
Thank you.
There we go. Now I see Hitomi. Nice and clear studio shot. Looks great.
Thank you.
So maybe we should start off talking about what we're both working on today for the demo. It's only, what, 1 hour? So it's not a lot of time, but we both have kind of different materials and processes we're working with today. So Hitomi, you're on the wheel. What are you working on today to show everybody?
Hi, I'm making the Unomi, which is a Japanese teacup, and that's a very basic, very simple and easy, but also very difficult. Japanese people drink a lot of green tea, and it's a everyday use. So Unomi has to fit in your hand and enjoy your green tea. So, every once in a while, I make Unomi, especially after firing, after sale. When I come back to studio, that's the pots I make first. So today I make Unomi, and I use Starworks red clay, which Takuro and his team work very hard every day, and then made of North Carolina local clay. So I'm very thankful about good materials I can use in my studio.
So Unomi is a very...
what you are making?
Well, I was going to ask a question too. So Unomi is a very classic form. Do you have just a standard size, or do you vary the size for And also when I studied some wheel in Japan, we always used tombo, like the little tool to try to measure the Unomi. So do you use any tools or just absolutely buy? eye and hand memory?
I see. First question about the size. I think there are many sizes, but if you make Unomi for wholesale, like a production, mass production, I think there should be some standard sizes in every pottery villages. Takuro and I lived in Shigaraki, and that place to me seems like Unomi size maybe a bit bigger than other area because of the clay and the style. So for the size, I think it really depends the pottery villages, but there are many standard sizes for their production. And second question,
tools, only hands, or do you use any tools?
Oh yeah, hand and wood reams, and but it's not much. I mostly use my hand. Some people use a cow tongue, which is a long and you don't have to use your fingers, but I don't use those tools. I like my hand.
So I guess I'm also curious to think a little bit about where you studied in Japan and when, and where I studied in Japan and when, and some of the different characteristic of those places, because I think, you know, Okayama and also Shigaraki pretty different in terms of ceramic styles and history and what they're known for. Maybe I'm asking you a lot of questions, but
I think I wanna listen your experience and opinions. So, but I can answer quickly. I studied pottery making in Okayama University, and Bizen Pottery Village is pretty close to the school, so I had access to help Bizen potters traditional wood firings. Normally, it takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks for just firing. The method was established at Momoyama or even old time. So, what to say, maybe 400-500 years, they have been doing the same method for the firing for 2-3 weeks because of their rare clay. And at the school, my teacher, Mr. Onoyama, was a traditional porcelain sometsuke artist, blue paint, and he learned at the Tokyo Art University. So I was able to see his style and what I learned at school, and also Bizen potter's method. But after I finished up my master's program, I thought I need more different experience. So I was able to go to Shigaraki Togenomori Ceramic Cultural Park as a residency artist, and it was 1996, right after I graduated school. And at that time, I met many international artists at the Shigaraki Ceramic Cultural Park, and that made me think of going abroad, which was United States. And that you were in Kanazawa at the same time. When you were in Kanazawa, how did you get there?
1996 for 1 year,
I see.
and then 1999 to 2005, and then I've been back, you know, regularly since then. So kind of similar, I guess, in some ways, my experience too. I went to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia for my undergraduate program and worked with really wonderful faculty there, including James Makins, who went on sabbatical to Japan on a Fulbright grant when I was a student. And when he returned, he also encouraged me to apply for this student version of those programs. And he also brought multiple artists from Japan to the University Arts, including Ruriko Miyamoto and also Ryoji Koei, among others, for extended periods of time. And so I became very interested in Japanese ceramics and wanting to travel there to see some of the places that these people were from. Of course, Jamaicans would go to Japan regularly. So I went 1996 just out of undergraduate school for 1 year as a research student, and had a wonderful experience. Did not speak Japanese well at that time at all. And I didn't choose, where I wanted to go. They assigned me through Fulbright. They just found a Fulbright alumni in geology, actually, in Kanazawa, who went and talked to Kanazawa College of Art faculty and said, here is a young student coming on Fulbright, you should take her. So they said, okay. And they told me, you're going to Kanazawa. And I'd never heard of Kanazawa. And I thought, where is this place? It's on the far side of Japan from Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, all the big cities. But my professor told me, you're going to love it. It's a wonderful, wonderful city for craft.
Did you expect the style of Kanazawa pottery at that time? Because it's a really kind of rare, many pottery villages use stoneware, nendo, and Kanazawa, Arita, those places they use porcelain. And in Japan, I don't think there are many porcelain mines. I think some materials are from China or Korea or, southern Kyushu area. So, so that should be very different for you to know about traditional Japanese traditional pottery.
And I was surprised. I mean, I went to Kanazawa College of Art, and my professor there was Kenji Kuze, who's a wonderful mentor, sadly passed this summer. And he was from Fukui, but went to study and worked for a while in Seto. So he was really a stoneware sculptor. And we had other faculty working, largely in stoneware. And the traditional pots of Kanazawa and the area was not as, active at that time, I think, at Kanazawa College of Art. And that's actually changed quite a bit. But at the time, not as much. It was very contemporary clay and sculptural, which was wonderful. And but I was surprised because I had studied, of course, and I wrote part of my proposal to travel to the 6 ancient kiln sites. And so I did go to basically all of them that year. But the ceramics in Kanazawa is very different. Craft in Kanazawa is very gorgeous. So there's a history of this very, very colorful, saturated porcelain. But the porcelain, and they do have mines in Kanazawa, the porcelain is not so white. It's so plastic and so wonderful to work with, but it's really not very white. So that was surprising to me because I had thought always of porcelain in Japan as more like, Arita or Kyoto, like very, very white, very delicate and beautiful, spare design, drawing and the like. So Kanazawa was pretty different in that respect. And also when I finished school, I was there for a year. I came back to the US. I decided I wanted to return to Japan to do graduate study. So I went back on the Japanese government scholarship. And so Fulbright and the Japanese government scholarship, two wonderful opportunities if any students are watching and would like to study in Japan. I mean, they were incredibly generous and, basically amazing. So, and supportive. So I went and did Japanese language study first. and then had to take the entrance exam for graduate school in Japan, which was not easy, in Japanese. And I worked on sculptural work while I was a graduate student there. Had just a wonderful experience with other students and the faculty. But like I said, it was very contemporary and sculptural. And when I was done with my graduate program, I thought, I didn't learn as much about Kanazawa crafts as I wanted to. And I was very absorbed in my own, work at that time. But as I got to the end, I kind of realized, I missed a lot of things I could have learned about kutani, enamels, lacquer, metal, all these different crafts that are traditional in Kanazawa. So there's a residency program in Kanazawa called the Utatsuyama Craft Workshop, and this is at a site of traditional kutani ware, and that is a 2 to 3 year residency. So that's where I went for 3 years, and during that time, that's when I studied really more intensely the porcelain, the enamels, overglazes, gold leaf, all the gorgeous things of Kanazawa crafts, and spent 3 years there doing that. And also a lot of mold making of natural forms and things too, because I just loved all the different vegetables and forms in rural Japan. But that really influenced me strongly. I think today, the work I'm making right now is kind of a couple steps past that. I came back to the US now 15 years ago, hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but I'm still doing, the enameling, so drawing on ceramic, which I love. And recently, been thinking a lot about like the different types of, quality of line and pattern and different things I'm using. So I'm doing like traditional patterns, or exploring some of the traditional patterns that are usually backgrounds in European art, but in some of the classic ceramics in China and Japan are very dense packed florals. And I, do really intense drawing with those, and make silk screens and use vintage decals and different things like that. But recently I've also been interested in sprigs and doing modeling again of porcelain. So that's what I'm doing a little bit of today. And some of the sprigs I've been trying to make my own designs for them. And Clemson is a big research university. So there's a lot of resources for 3D printing and digital modeling and things like that. So some of what I have here that I'm using for tools today, I guess I should show a couple things are kind of coming from that. So I render these small flowers in like 3D software to sculpt and then print them. And then I'm making small press molds to use them. And the 3D printing is super fine. So if it's plaster, it's very hard to get the detail to make a sprig. So I'm using actually silicone or rubber molds to press mold these flowers. And so you can see, this is what they look like, basically, press molded. And I use some tools that I learned about when I was studying ceramics in Japan for press molding big forms. The stamper being one, or stampa. So this, I'm doing little cutouts of clay slabs using different forms, like these guys. So these are just like simple slab, just cuts. Some of these are commercial cutters. And then some of these also recently I'm designing with Rhino software, these like custom cookie cutters, so I can make my own sizes and designs like that. So, and then these I'm using on like this, like a sprig. So it's stamped on, and the stamper is you're going to hear pound, pound, pound. This, which is basically just sand in a bag, plastic bag covered with like bed sheet wrapped tight, and it creates like a really good press molding tool so that, when I need to make these forms, they're just here, like bump, 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 all over. And that helps it get really fine designs and fine details. So these recently I'm covering, forms with them. So that's what I'm working on today. It's like this large floral. This will eventually be a wall hung piece, but I have it on a banding wheel so I can see it and then model all around with lots and lots of flowers. So I'm talking a lot, so I'm actually not getting a whole lot done in my cover. So I should ask you some more questions too, but let's see.
So your students have access to a 3D printer as well? Can they make anything they want?
Yes, so there's a makerspace on campus, which all students have access to and training multiple things. And actually all the faculty at Clemson are using different technological tools because we have access to all these things. So whether it's like laser cutters for, drawing or engraving and printmaking, virtual reality and painting, 3D printing and ceramics and sculpture, and lots of other, classes in media art, photography, things like that. So we have access through the campus, but we also have like, materials labs here just in our college, which we also use and is great. And the 3D printing in clay is something we've been doing as well. And I'm trying to incorporate that in some of these works too, because what I really enjoy is I have these, sort of fine 3D prints from the plastic type printer. And then I have hand modeled ones, which I'm cutting and then hand modeling these little petal pieces like these. And that's what's happening in this area. And then, having some other kind of line quality variation is why I started getting into some of the 3D prints. And also it's just something that's really kind of exciting in ceramics now. So any of our students who are in undergraduate or graduate programs, should have some exposure to that. And so I've been learning it myself, working in the past couple years. So, if I can do it, then of course they can too. Some of the experiments early on were a little bit challenging, but I have been working on prints of just sort of simple abstracted florals. So this is like a little sample of one, and it's sort of like glorified Mr. Softy machine, but it, kind of lets out a little tube of clay following the patterns. The resolution is not super tight, but you can see on these, like it has, just a variation of the line quality. Of course, you can change out nozzles and do a bunch of changes
if
with
you
them.
make those by hand, that should take a lot of time.
But I would say like actually doing things with the clay printer and is not very fast.
Oh, I see.
So there's challenges with it.
I never used it, so I have no idea. But
it's kind of like a glorified Mr. Softy, soft ice cream machine, pushes out and builds up like a very fine coil. Yeah. But there's a lot of variables in doing it in clay because the clay has to be the right consistency. You need the right path speeds and all kinds of variables that go with it. So it really is like a language all of its own. And I'm still quite, getting the landscape of how, all of this could be impactful in my work. But I really started it just to kind of give another resource to students, but then started becoming more interested in it just for its own qualities and using the flower patterns or pack floral patterns, like the Hanazume pattern is one that was common in Kanazawa. And that was, derived from export ware. So it's something that has influence of, Japanese flowers and thoughts about flowers. Some of it came through China, so there's some mix of that, type of flowers. And then Western taste for flowers too, as the export ware went back and forth. So it's really translated through like a lot of different languages, and I find the pattern interesting. So using digital tools and then also hand tools, it's kind of like the same translation of ornament and languages of ornament that I'm thinking about as I'm putting these together in porcelain. So this is not, this one is a porcelain recipe that we're making here, but I was a resident at Starworks in summer 2019. Yeah, so not this past summer, but the one before, which was wonderful, and making a lot of new work during that time. Great studio space. Really nice to, not only meet and work with all the different clay artists, but also glass people too. Super exciting. And while I was there, I worked with a little bit of the wild porcelain and did some wood firing with that.
How do you think about the clay?
This is the wild porcelain, as one
Nice.
can see. Yes. So it reminds me a little bit of like the Katani clay. It's not, it's not the whitest porcelain, but the Katani clay too would blush the most beautiful colors in wood firing, like salmon, orange, pink. And so it reminds me a lot of that. Like there's a lot of color character in it. Yeah, not the easiest porcelain. Like
it's not a little bit,
a little bit challenging.
Yeah,
a little bit challenging.
That's a North Carolina.
But it's really,
Yeah, my privilege is my husband brings back new clay or test clay and give me and say do something. So I work on the wheel and tell him my honest if it's good or bad. And while the porcelain was kind of a most needed porcelain for local potters, many potters use a porcelain clay body. And as you know, North Carolina has a lot of stoneware and red, yellow, lots of iron. So making a North Carolina local porcelain was a big deal for Takuro. And it took many months to make a kind of first batch. And I made something and it was terrible workability on the wheel. but as you said, in the wood kiln, I got a very beautiful flashing color and I liked it. So if the clay or porcelain don't work on the wheel, maybe I can do pinch pot or something different. So looking for a good way to use is a very important for potters, I think.
Well, I think that also, studying in Japan, there was a little bit more, you adapt to the clay body than the, the clay body is adapting, or you're trying to change it to adapt to yourself. So there's a little bit more, I think, relationship of the qualities of the clay and bringing that out and working with things that are the inherent beauty of a material. So that, is one thing that I really loved about porcelain in Kanazawa was just its very rich, color. I have to say the Katani porcelain though, it's very, very plastic. So you could work really nicely with it, but it was sometimes, and it was also something that responded very well to enamel and overglaze firing, because of course doing like enamels and overglazes, you have to fire things, you know, sometimes 3-4 times after at cone 017, 018, 020, very low temperatures. And that refiring, not a lot of clay bodies stand up to that too well. So that porcelain did. And actually the enamels that if you go to Kanazawa and sees like some of the historic pieces, as the Tatsuyama Craft Workshop has a wonderful museum there with it, they wood fired enamels and overglazes. So wood firing them, they had beautiful variation, you know, where they would sometimes reduce a little bit, you know, things that were technically a bit of a mistake, but you know, many were fired in saggers, but I don't know that all of them were, and some really got some mix of that type of a little bit of local reduction and things like that. Love that.
Yes, in Shigaraki, there are maybe several clay companies in town, and they use mostly local materials around the Shigaraki area. We young potters in town, we could go to any clay companies and ask them which clay is good for, and always clay engineers and professionals told us how to use, what is the character of the clay, where this material is from, stuff like that. And I think you said we have to know the materials, and I think that's Takuro has been doing since we came to Seagrove in 2005. Each clay have different personality and different, you know, plasticity, color, and that, yeah, it's fun to use different clays. So
right. And when I was in Kanazawa, one of the things that we did first as a resident artist there was we rebuilt the anagama that was there. So that was an entire year, basically.
Wow, that's very lucky. It doesn't happen many times.
No, thankfully. Yeah, but you know, and we would fire that anagama 3 times a year for community classes and things. So that was a great experience. And Clemson, we have our own anagama here too. It's sometimes called the Vadagama. It was built by our retired chair and ceramics faculty, Mike Badalaro.
Oh, I see.
After he spent time in Japan in Tokoname.
Oh, I see.
In the summer program, they used to do the IWCAT program at Tokoname.
Yeah,
he went.
They are discontinued.
Yeah, so he went.
Program.
Yeah, he was there one summer and came back and built our anagama. So we still fire the Clemson kiln with him and other community people. And, you know, we make a lot of our clay at Clemson just for cost efficiency for students and stuff. But we started getting interested in Starworks clay. And so the last couple of firings we've used, I would say primarily in some of our community classes and with students, the new Catawba and also Dark Star, two favorites.
This is
beautiful in wood firing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rich iron. So yeah, definitely. I think Starworks residency program want to have young potters, students who want to try different clay, and also in Seagrove, there's a North Carolina Pottery Center. They have a residency art program, and also they sometimes accept interns, and there are some way for young people to learn and spend the time in Pottery Village in United States. So
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, we've been really happy to have a few of our students go to Starworks for residencies. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So one of our MFA students, Titan Abrams, was there for I think about 6 months.
Right.
And then undergraduate student Hannah Cup was there, and she's now at the Pottery Center. Yeah, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So
It's so fun to
yes,
talk.
yes, and he had so many good things to say. You know, everybody's got an interest now. So, and how is the residency going now? I wonder. It looks like there's people there. Somebody new, so that's great.
Yeah, I haven't been there because of the COVID. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
I tried to stay home because of kids. But
Mm.
there should be residency parties who loves redefining. So they are preparing for the coming up firing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great to
Yeah. So.
see those young people in town and visit us, talk about dinner. And yeah, I'm very lucky and really
I think we lost your sound just a little bit. Is a little low. The mic sound.
声がちょっと
There we go. That's a little better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just went quiet for a moment.
More 40分やね。
Oh boy. So time is going very quickly.
We had a little bit
So
technical problem. So
that happens. The current situation means everybody is just adapting as best they can.
right.
So, you know, I heard a lot about Firefest from, of course, Dayton. And, you know, we have wanted to attend, and it's been kind of the same time as the Onagama firing we've been doing at Clemson in the spring, but I've seen a lot from it and just looks like so much fun. So I'm hoping next year, right,
Yeah,
be able to go.
Yeah, I think sculpture firing is one of the biggest deal for the
Yes.
Firefest. I helped building sculpture with guest artist and the Starworks ceramics team sometime. They make a 6 feet or 7 feet tall big sculpture and
Right.
they fire outside. Andres Arik, the Estonian kiln builder, and also he made a very special kiln for those sculpture firing. And yeah, hope next year Starworks can do it again. This is a very difficult year for everyone. Potters couldn't open the shop, and many pottery shows, exhibitions, conferences are gone. So it's been difficult for us too. But
you just had a big, you just had a kiln opening and sale or show. Just was that a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it was October 10th, Spruce Pine Pottery Market, which
right.
organized by potters in North Carolina mountains. They every year they have a pottery shows, and we were invited for this year. So we were hoping to bring lots of pots and go there, meet great artists, but it went to virtual only. So we had an online kiln opening, and it was pretty good. We were able to sell pots, but also after the first day, we had a Zoom meeting, and we saw our friends, new friends, and we talk. And it was great experience to do something together under this circumstance. So that may be a new normal and a new way for potters to keep making pots and find a way to sell pots online. But there are many potters who try to work together, and that this online Firefest is also one of them. Starworks couldn't do on-site event this year, but they build up online, virtual event, and today and tomorrow they have so many wonderful videos, lectures, discussions, and hope people check out the Starworks Facebook page and hope they learn and make new friends. That'll be great.
I mean, I feel like as far as social media goes, a lot of ceramic artists were really ahead or early adopters of a lot of the things and tools that go with social media, because there is like really this interest and desire for community, and when you move somewhere new or a little more remote, you miss that. So these different tools, I think a lot of people were already using really kind of in sophisticated ways. So the challenges right now, of course, are great, but I think that it seems kind of crazy, like to do a ceramic sale online in some ways, because the first thing you want to do whenever you see, me, is you want to pick it up and feel it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of experience, but it seems like people are still very willing to do that. And of course, people who know given artists' work are going to want to support them and, kind of know the quality that they're getting. So
yes. I didn't like online sale at all. When I buy pottery, I want to touch and I want to talk to the artist directly. And in this way, I can buy, bring it home, and still I have lots of memories. So that's my way. But after COVID, things got very changed. So we had maybe 3-4 times online sales, and it was very surprising that so many people outside of North Carolina came to our website and purchased our pottery. If we just do pottery show, exhibition, local event, I don't think we were able to have such a new customers. So that was very new, and very thankful about such a people who are very supportive.
Well, there are people probably from all over the world too. So things that are, stays local in some ways, but then it also becomes more accessible to many. And so I think that's one of the positive things that I hope stays. But it would be certainly nice to have, in-person events again, have both, right? Some of the virtual event, but and it's, I think, been challenging for university students, of course, too, because there are some courses and things that are a little more easily transition to online format, but studio art is challenging. But I have to say, like, I feel like a lot of our students are really doing great things with it, even though it's kind of a challenge. If there's one thing that artists are pretty good at, it's being resourcing and resilient and adapting to new situations. So, I think it's giving that experience to our students a little sooner, rather than you graduate, go out, and then what do I do? There's a little bit of the what do I do, or how do I, adapt now. So it's been exciting to see elements of that, but of course we'll be happy to have people back in the classroom as possible. you know, what we've been doing here, because we're in South Carolina, so it's still like 70 degrees. We just moved all our pottery wheels outside. And some of the ceramic studio tables outside. We have a giant outdoor kiln shed. So just adapting, if it's hard to work inside or the studio's a little small, for social distancing, we moved the things outside. And that's been really kind of great to work outdoors.
That's
or
great.
partially outdoors. Of course, that wouldn't work too well in colder climates, and maybe we'll have a little more challenge with that coming back from winter break. But for the time being, it's actually been pretty fun to see people on the potter's wheel outdoors.
Yeah. I think potters are very
enjoying.
creative, so we can find something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, Valerie-san.
Hello.
Yeah, it's been 45 minutes and we have to wrap up. Sorry, we want to listen your conversations more, but thank you so much for doing this. And I was looking at the comment, but not much questions. So I think we are good. No need to answer the questions. But yeah, you said that the 3D printer takes long time to print. So how long does it take to print one piece like that? 30 minutes or?
Maybe not, but it's more like all the preparation that goes along with it too. So there's, you're loading a tube with clay that has to be the right consistency. You have to prepare your file. It's not something that you just kind of do like one now and again. It's more like it's almost like, I guess in a way, like throwing, like you have to have everything prepared and there's a lot of preparation. And if you're going to do all the preparation, then you might as well do like a quantity of it. And it struggles, a little bit with some of the, or actually maybe it's I struggle with like getting the right, resolution and things too. So, some early prints of flower forms. I have one, I think this is maybe the first one. It's like this, this is like, looks like a bird's nest or like funky spaghetti or something. But then through doing tests, you can see some of these start to get a little cleaner.
I see,
and it has like it has a very, mechanical kind of quality to it, but it's an interesting, I think, visual play off of the things that are press molded. So that's like sort of indirect version of it. And then things that are made by hand, which have a very different
texture,
more organic quality, right? So all the different things sort of together, I like the formal dialogue that they have.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. So when you put those flowers on your piece, do you have a plan before you put it up, or you just instantly decide where it goes?
I would say on the in the beginning, I was doing a little bit more planning when I started doing them, but now it's a little bit more organic. I might decide where one goes, like here's a finished one. You can see. So like on this, choosing one spot that's sort of like the focal point and then building organically around it. That's kind of similar to this is the overglazed and enamel, like here, where you can see starting with one and then just building from there. So, but I do a lot of drawing of the different traditional patterns. So observing historic vessels and researching the patterns. So I'm doing a lot of drawing. So it's already kind of in, I'd say, in my mind, how to balance things.
Great. Yeah. Beautiful. And you just had a big show recently that looks great on Instagram. I saw it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was at our 701 Contemporary Art Center in South Carolina. I was the
Right.
State Arts Fellow for Craft. So that was an exhibition, and I showed a lot of the ceramic work. I also did drawing, and some of the 3D printing has led me, and work on that has led me to be interested in like cutter too. So like digital cutter. So I did a paper cut, collage, and other things on a large scale, which was a lot of fun to experiment. So
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. And yeah, Hitomi has been working on Unomi's, and she was trying to trim it, but didn't have time. So maybe
throw and trim in one
Instagram.
session is yeah.
Right.
We can follow up.
Right. Sounds good. And can you tell everybody your Instagram or Facebook or website so they can find you?
Sure. It is at V Zimany. And so for Valerie Zimany, VZIMANY. That's the Instagram. On Facebook, just Valerie Zimany. And ValerieZimany.com is my website. But I would say Instagram is most current flow of everything new. And we also have a Clemson Ceramics is our Instagram for the studio at Clemson. So hopefully people will check it out.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And Hitomi?
My info.
Yep.
I have an account on Instagram at Studio Toya. And also Takuro and I have a website at www.studiotoya.com. So.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you very much. We have more program after this too. So yeah, hope we will see you at Star Works or Clemson. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great rest of Firefest.
Thank you.
Thank you.